Hey everybody, it's Benjamin here at the Seductive Fragrance Channel, coming back at you with more fragrances, more colognes, and more perfumes. Today we're going to be talking about a high-end niche fragrance, a brand that's getting a little bit of love out there. Not a lot of people know about this brand, and not a lot of people have done reviews on their fragrances. Today I have Yasmina to share with you today. This is Yasmina from the house of Kajal. Let me show you the presentation real quick before we talk about the fragrance. If you're paying for a high-end luxury fragrance, I think sometimes the presentation really does matter, especially when they put a lot of effort into it. So first off, it's a very heavyweight, dark bottle. It's going to protect the color with this dark color of the glass. It's going to protect your juice from sunlight and all that kind of stuff. A beautiful plaque. Very well done, and each one of these fragrances from their more floral collection has a different color for the rose on the top. As you can see, this is the white rose in this fragrance. So let's talk about the juice. What kind of beautiful notes are going into this one? We got notes like saffron and cardamom and rose, of course. We got the rose. I think there was some tonka, some vanilla, and I get some leathery nuances from the probably coming from the saffron. And there's some interesting and whiskey. That was another note that really surprised me from this fragrance. There's definitely some interesting things going on. Now I have some sprayed on my hand. I have the dry down, and to my nose, this fragrance is mostly a saffron. It's not the yellow saffron. It's not the almost yellow aldehydic saffron. This is more of a laid back, almost like musky kind of saffron that kind of dominates the top. I do detect the cardamom. I don't get a lot of freshness that cardamom can have. To me, this isn't a fresh green cardamom. To me, this is more of a processed gray, maybe even more suede-like cardamom. I think there's supposed to be jasmine as well. I don't get a huge dose of jasmine, but there is this interesting heart to this fragrance, almost this piercing note. And I wouldn't be amazed if that's coming from a play from some of the saffron, but also a play on the whiskey and the jasmine. It's very interesting, and it has this interesting. It almost smells powdery in a way, but not exactly. And to my nose, there is some animalic qualities coming through with this fragrance, but it's not overtly animalic, and it's not a scary animalic. This is definitely a animalic kind of fragrance that a daring, confident, and maybe luxurious, voluptuous kind of woman would wear. So it's a very high quality smell. It in the tone of the fragrance, to me, it's a little bit more focused on the heart and the base. So there's not a lot of freshness to this fragrance, and it makes it a little bit more seductive. And of course, it's going to last. So to me, it doesn't have a Tom Ford feel, but if you're familiar with Tom Fords do the same thing. There's not a lot of top notes, and it's more of middle and base notes, and it gives it some more smoothness, and it's a little bit more well-rounded. It has more body to the fragrance, and with the concentration, and I think that that's going on here as well. So overall, it's very interesting. At times, it reminded me of white leather. At times, it reminded me of distantly of something maybe like ombre leather by Tom Ford. That's also one reason I mentioned Tom Ford, but it's not the same. This is its own creation. And I do think that maybe as a lady, if you smelled ombre leather or just white leather fragrances in general, and maybe you wanted one that really worked for you, I think that this is going to be gorgeous stuff. Of course, we'll talk about the price. This is a luxury fragrance a little bit down the line, but I do have to say that if you've ever wanted a fragrance that almost is like a white leather fragrance, it's very complex, very interesting, very unique, and you're a lady out there who maybe is a little bit, maybe higher up there in the world of things, and you have some money and you want to smell exquisite. This is pretty gorgeous juice, I do have to say. It's pretty well done. It's well composed, but saffron is pretty unique. The animalic touch to this is pretty unique, as well as whiskey touches. To me, the whiskey here isn't overtly boozy. It doesn't add, the kind of molecule or aromatic quality that booziness can have. It's more of a mellow kind of whiskey that's more in the background, in the base of things. So very interesting, though. You tend to pick up on the whiskey a little bit more in the dry down than the opening. It's kind of the opposite. Some booziness really hits you in a fragrance when you first spray it. This is definitely a whiskey that's more in the dry down, maybe more of a whiskey syrup. So interesting fragrance, no doubt about it. Longevity wise, this is not a slouch. I consistently get 8 hours. Some people might get more than that. On my skin, this is about an 8 hour fragrance consistently every single time. So it's definitely going to get you through a workday, get you through, and you're going to be smelling very, very nice. Projection wise is more on the average or maybe slightly above average. Honestly, again, I don't get as many top notes, and this fragrance is more on that reserved, seductive side of things. So I don't get a ton of projection out of this fragrance. If you wore this in the heat, I have no doubt that it would go crazy. But the sillage to me is what is the star of the show here. You're getting above average sillage. I don't think you're getting crazy sillage, but it's noticeable, and this fragrance is unique. So it definitely adds to that allure. When you walk past somebody, when you give somebody a hug, maybe somebody comes across you and they get a tiny bit of a smell of you, and they're it's tantalizing. I do think that this fragrance certainly has that kind of quality about it, and it can be very tantalizing. So with the compliment factor, I do have to say that this fragrance is perfectly unisex, no doubt about it. But for me personally, I like more of my masculine scents, and I wasn't very comfortable with wearing this fragrance. Also, this is a high-end fragrance. I only wear my high-end fragrances for more of special occasions. I don't willy-nilly go to the supermarket or just casually wear Jubilation 25 or my high-end fragrances that might have costed me, they're $200 plus $300 fragrances. For me, that's just not economical. And as well, I want that fragrance is special to me, so I want to reserve it for something special. So I didn't wear this one too often around many people. I did bring the bottle to some of them, and I did let them smell it a couple times from the atomizer. And I do have to say, I'm not going to waste a spray here, but this has a beautiful. In the nozzle, doesn't look like anything special, but it is a very nice little sprayer. And I do have to say that people really did like this fragrance. There's vanilla in the dry down. The vanilla does come through. I didn't want to make the vanilla the big focus of this review because vanilla can overpower a composition. Vanilla can make the fragrance smell more of a gourmand. Vanillas can be the star of the shows, and perhaps they seem a little bit overdone, redundant. Vanilla fragrances are somewhat common. This fragrance is not a vanilla bomb. It's not a vanilla heavy fragrance, but you do notice it in the dry down, and people gravitate towards that. It has exotic saffron and a lot of exotic qualities about it, and it's somewhat sweet, so people are really interested in this fragrance. It wasn't too heavy. It wasn't too dark. I do feel like there is a little bit of a dark vibe, maybe with this fragrance, but overall, it's going to become kind of a second skin. Um, it's going to become something really special. Again, on a lady, I think that this is where this fragrance shines. Perfectly unisex once again. This is just my personal opinion, but on a lady, this is going to be a seductive fragrance. This is going to be something special. Trust me, you ladies out there, if this sounds interesting to you, when I told you about the notes, when I told you about this fragrance, and maybe you like fragrances like have saffron. Maybe you've always wanted a saffron fragrance. I think that this is one of the most wearable and well done, not only saffron fragrances, but also boozy fragrances. Not a lot of fragrances get boozy nuances right, and this isn't an overtly heavy boozy fragrance, but this is one of the first fragrances I've came across where it's used as a base note, and it really adds an interesting character to this fragrance. Also, if you've been scared of leather fragrances before, if you've been scared of them, this fragrance, because of the saffron, has leathery nuances and touches. I think that if that it could be something exciting for you if you've never really had leather or anything leather-like in your world. Again, I have to go back to the white leather as I close this review. Uh, I think that this fragrance is going to remind somebody out there of maybe white leather in a very exotic, spiced way. Maybe like white gloves that a fantastic and beautiful and voluptuous, maybe Arabic lady was wearing. Very high class lady. I think that this fragrance would work wonders and be beautiful. It reminds me of white leather and gold. It really does. And I did win this in a giveaway, but they weren't expecting a review. They don't know that I'm going to make a review. They didn't tell me to make a review. And this is very exciting that I did get out there and I was able to make a review. Um, I don't get fragrant. I don't win giveaways all the time, and this is the price tag of y'all. Don't be too scared of it. As far as niche goes, it's not terribly scary. This is a $230 fragrance, and this is 100 mils. There are plenty of fragrances out there that are 50 mils. That are $200 plus, so double the price. There's plenty of them out there. So for the quality of this price, for Tom Ford like quality, I actually think that this is a good value. If you're willing to pay, pay a Tom Ford private line price, if you're willing to pay $350 for a 50 mils of Tom Ford fragrance, why not try this fragrance out? I think that this stands up and is a Tom Ford like quality fragrance. I'm not trying to hype this brand. I'm not being paid. They don't know who I am really, and I'm not getting any kickback for this review. If you like Tom Ford fragrances, if you're a lady out there, and if this sounds interesting, I'm not trying to hype this up. Check this fragrance out. 100 mils for $230. It might sound expensive. Some of y'all like the cheapies on my channel. Some of y'all like the affordable indie fragrances that I showcase. But as far as the quality goes, and as far as what's going into this fragrance, I think it's worth it. I think that this fragrance is worth every penny. Just like some people out there, some people are suggesting that Nichane is not worth the money, or maybe you should just wait on a sale on Nichane. Nichane fragrances honestly, some of them might even be underpriced for what they are. Fan Your Flames is worth every penny for a little bit under $200. This is kind of that same kind of feel. If you're into the world of niche and indie, and you want something that's seductive, wearable, and for everyday situations, and you want good value for a niche, to me, this is actually a good value. Even though it's a higher price tag, and you are getting diminishing returns, the more you pay, the less you get. As far as this price range, the $200, $250 range, this is worth the money. So Yasmina's Kajal, a good fragrance, worth it. And I hope I didn't sound like I was hyping this, but I do think that some brands do need some recognition. Comme des Garçons doesn't get a lot of talk, and there are a number of brands out there. Ormond Jane, a wonderful niche brand, wonderful fragrances. Nobody talks about them. Everybody talks about what's popular, and also kind of what's sent to some reviewers, like Parfums de Marly and some of the Rojas and some of those fragrances. Nobody's talking about this one. Why not talk about this out there, because nobody knows about it? Talk about this fragrance. Check out this fragrance if you have a chance. Get a sample. I'm going to link their website down below. I'm not a shill. Again, they did not pay me, and I can do a positive review if I want to, and if I think it's good juice. I think some lady out there is going to absolutely love it. So anyways, this has been my review of a wonderful and a beautiful fragrance from the House of Kajal. Let me know what you think about this fragrance. Have you heard about it? What do you think about them? Have you heard about them? What do you think about the smells, the sounds, the ingredients that went into this fragrance? Do you like saffron? Do you like whiskey? Do you like tonka, vanilla? Do you like these kinds of notes going into this fragrance? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. While you're at it, y'all know how to help me down there below. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, tell a friend. And I'll see y'all next time, my friends. Have a good one. Have a fantastic day. Wear what you love, rock what you got, and a nice little fragrance we got here. And I'll see y'all next time, my friends, and bye.